Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We were really hoping to get, I was hoping to get a really notable guest here before the All-Star break, but our producer, he's just, in sim to end autopilot producing mode. But you know, he the podcast hit like the top 20 a couple of years ago one time, so of course he gets a pass. So we got Fred Katz on from The Athletic. Hi Fred, how are you?
Wish you'd reached out to Denzel Washington. He's in New York. He was at the Knicks game last night.
You know, do you think Denzel would come on the pod?
Maybe. He's a Lakers fan. If you could like get him talking about Luka. I think you have a better chance of getting Denzel on the pod than you do of getting like Worldwide Wes.
I was about to say, who do you think would be a better guest, Denzel or Worldwide Wes?
Better guest, honestly, Worldwide Wes.
Yeah,
assuming that Worldwide Wes is open to being interviewed, which he's not. But if we lived in a world where you could assume that Worldwide Wes was going to be interviewed, I mean, like people don't even. His name is William West. His name is William.
Yes, it is.
No one calls him William or Will or William Wesley. He's Worldwide Wes. That's what he is. There's a reason why he is so notoriously Worldwide Wes. It's because that man knows everybody, everywhere, always, and has been either at the fringes or secretly in the middle or whatever else of so many unbelievable, not just NBA, but sports moments, the people he knows around the world of sports at Jordan and at Nike and in football even. And like, he is an extremely interesting human being. And if he were ever willing to actually share his stories, it would probably be awesome. Like, I'm sure he could fill an entire book with all of his stories.
And it's funny because
even though, by the way, love Denzel.
Even though Wes operates in the shadows, he still has like one of the most recognizable faces, which is which is pretty cool, and it's a testament to his lasting legacy in the NBA. If you could ask Worldwide Wes, Fred, one question on the record, what would it be?
One question on the record. It would be, could you get me an interview with Leon? That would be my question.
That would be a waste of a question. Oh man. I'm sorry. I'm still delirious after last night. I don't know. What are we? How many? It feels like 5 hours since it happened. It's been like 13 or 14 since the Knicks played their last basketball before the All-Star break. I should know this. Were you at the Garden? I don't even know.
Yes, I was.
You
there.
were.
I was not in Indianapolis for the Pacers game, but I was at the Garden last night for a game that I assumed was just going to go on forever and just ruin everybody's All-Star break, except for Tibbs's. Tibbs was going to be thrilled about having basketball through the All-Star break. One of my favorite all-time Tibbs things was around this time last year when Knicks were in a similar spot in the standings. They were jostling for second place with Milwaukee, and whoever was in second place was going to be the coach of the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game.
Oh, yeah.
And it ended up being Milwaukee. Funny enough, it ended up being Doc Rivers, who had just taken that job over from Adrian Griffin. And Doc came in, and even Doc was like, I should not. Something's off. I should not be the one doing this thing right now. But the Knicks were like a game out of second place with, a week and a half to go until the All-Star break. And they had a legitimate chance, even if it wasn't the most likely scenario, of getting into second. And about 19 people told me, and they all told me in the same tone. They all like thought it was funny. They were like, Tibbs is stressing so hard right now about potentially being in second place and having to coach the All-Star game, because then he has to like leave for 4 days. Where was All-Star last year?
I don't remember.
Wherever it was.
I'll look it up.
Utah?
Was
Indianapolis.
It Utah?
Indianapolis. No,
Okay.
Utah was 2 years ago. Indianapolis. Okay. Then he has to leave for 4 days to go to Indianapolis. He's got to do 18 press conferences. He's got to run a BS All-Star game practice. He's got to coach the All-Star game. He's got to do all this crap.
It sounds like hell for him.
instead of just parking his ass at the practice facility and just working for 8 days straight on things he can do with this team and studying the rest of the league and all that kind of stuff, he's just going to lose 4 days of work. And I love that. I think it's so funny that Tibbs was genuinely stressed about having to coach the All-Star game. And it makes me think that he did coach an All-Star game once when he was with the Bulls.
Chicago.
Yeah, when he was with the Bulls. I think it was must have been 2011.
Well, what is the rule? If you it's the second place coach unless like
no, it's the first. It's whichever team has the best record in the conference gets the head coach there. However, you can't coach the All-Star game 2 years in a row. So Joe Mazzulla coached the All-Star game 2 years ago. So because of that, Mazzulla wasn't eligible. The Celtics had the best record last year, but Mazzulla couldn't coach it again. So if it's the same person again, then it goes to the second place guy, which is what happened last year.
That's right.
And so it could have been Tibbs. I wish I knew Tibbs in 2011. In 2011, I was in college and I didn't know anyone in the NBA. And I wish I knew Tibbs in 2011 because I would have loved to have seen him, especially as a first-year coach, with him being like, that was his first year as a head coach. You know, he must have been like, I couldn't only imagine what he was like in his first year, knowing his personality, being like, I need this extra time to get better. I'm a rookie. I don't have the experience everybody else has. I need to work like crazy on this stuff. He must have been so funny to be around, like unintentionally funny to be around during All-Star that year.
He still needs to put in the work with some of these late game decisions here. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. I hope they should actually give him extra time away. I don't know if they could create an extra day in the schedule here during the break. We're gonna do a gimmick because why not? Again, I'm delirious. I thought of this at I don't know, when did I text you this morning? Yesterday. Okay, so I thought of this when I was still cogent before that basketball game happened, so that's good. We're gonna do one prediction, one question, and one take. The take is supposed to be spicy. You, the listener out there in listener land, will determine how spicy the take is. And if you deem that one of our takes is not spicy, you should definitely let that person know by tagging them at Fred Katz on all social media platforms. What do you want to start with? Prediction? Do you want to start with prediction, question, or let's save the takes to the end. You want to start with prediction or question?
Prediction, then question. You know what? Let's go question, then prediction, and then hot take. But I want you to go first.
You want me to ask the first question? Great, because my question is for you. I feel like we should start with like Manish Tana. Do you even get that joke? No, I don't get that joke. I've heard it.
At Passover, you go around the table, you have to ask the 4 questions. It's Manish Tana.
What are the 4 questions?
Why is this night different from all other nights? Something else. I don't know. I'm not a good Jew, but it's Manish Tana Halela Hazeh Mikol Halelot, and it's done in Hebrew.
Sounds like you need practice.
Well, that was correct. That was correct. He's saying it in Hebrew, and although I can't vouch for my accent, so I feel like we're going around saying the 4 questions right now.
Yeah, that's fine. So I had a question in mind, but I think I'll finagle some other way to bring up this topic because I want to do a version of a game that you play on your incredible, excellent, must listen, very informative, humorous. What other words can I throw in there? All things that are true, despite the fact that you are the host. Podcast, the Katz and Shoot on Patreon. You do something. Is this something? Right? That's still the name. Is this something?
I guess. I honestly don't remember. I don't listen to my podcast. I just say things. They go into the abyss. And
you say the words. You don't have to listen.
I'm not a listener. I don't know how to read either. People are like, "Oh, what do you like to read? You're a writer." I'm like, "No, I just write. I don't even know how to read."
It's not a necessary skill.
I can't even take a grocery list and come home with the proper things that I was supposed to. I will write down. I will look in my fridge. I will write down a grocery list, and I will come back, be like, forgot 3 things because I don't know how to read.
Your wife should draw pictures of the food items you need to get at the grocery store. They're gonna be good. Okay, is this something, Fred Katz? Is it something that? This is my question. Through how many games we played? 54 games. The Knicks are, according to our friends at Cleaning the Glass, 7.3 points per 100 possessions better or worse, I should say, when Jalen Brunson is on the floor. Now, you might say, all right, well, sure, his defense stinks. 5.8 of those 7.3 points are on the defensive end, which puts him in the 12th percentile league-wide when it comes to defensive on-off. But the Knicks are also 1.6 points per 100 possessions worse on offense when Jalen Brunson is in the game. Now, I have my thoughts as to why this is and why I don't necessarily think it's a huge deal, but I'm going to ask you the question because it's my turn to ask the question. Is this something, Fred Katz?
I'm inclined to say it's not something, and I imagine it has something to do with the lineup combinations that go with it, and that he plays a decent amount with Cat. So maybe that could have something to do with defense. Let's break this down, John. Let's see Brunson with whom, and how they are, and let's actually see what the bad 2 and 3 man combinations are, because sometimes that could be a good way to take.
So as you're pulling this up, because I've been looking at this stuff I did a lineup newsletter, I think at the end of last week. So I was looking at a bunch of this stuff. I think part of it is because during the Cat no Brunson minutes, those have worked really well. And it's because we saw it over the last couple of games. They're flying around. You got Deuce McBride doing Deuce McBride things. You got Campaign doing Campaign things. You know what they should have in the NBA? They should have an award for the best minimum signing of the year. Can you I kid around with you all the time. You actually know like important people. Can you suggest that to someone who actually has power?
You know why they can't do that?
Why?
Because the league doesn't publicly acknowledge salaries.
Oh, that's such horseshit.
So they wouldn't do it. The league doesn't.
It'd be a cool award though, right?
Salaries. That's all like reported. It would be a cool award. I'd be into that. And I think he'd be minimum player of the year.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Campaign's been great.
Yeah. No, Cam's been awesome. And then
you guys on the chat were all like, I don't see it with Campaign. And I was like, just wait, guys.
Don't joke about that because people are going to think you're serious. I love Campaign.
Campaign hits his shots. And Lord knows he operates like he's hitting his shots no matter what.
He does. And then
but he's not some dude who just chucks it up. Like he plays really hard. Like, and he doesn't play selfishly. He's just a very confident guy.
And they play fast. And I think when they're going up against some of these opposing backup units, I just don't think some of these backup units are equipped to handle what is a very, I would say, unique attack with these guards. Again, they're flying around with Cat, kind of doing everything the Cat's doing, kind of running the offense through him. So I think it has to do with that. And then you look at some of the Brunson only minutes and it's almost like, the if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. And Tibbs is kind of shoveling the shit onto Brunson's side to be like, all right, well, it's going to be your job to prop up some of these other groups. Now, maybe that's just my perception, but again, what do you think?
Could be. I mean, it could also be that we asked the question about Brunson. Who's on-offs are worse than Jalen Brunson's.
Yeah.
Like Josh Hart's on-offs are terrible.
Minus 11.7, 7th percentile in the league.
And to be clear, the Knicks are not getting outscored by 11.7 points per 100 when he's on. They are 11.7 points per 100 worse when he's on. And part of the reason why is because they're unbelievable when he's off. Like they're not terrible when he's on. Like I can tell you right now, when Josh Hart,
I think they're probably outscoring teams by 2 point something per 100 when he's on, if I had to guess.
Yeah, when Josh Hart's on the court, they're outscoring teams by 4.8 points per 100 possessions, which is like actually a pretty good number. But they're just running teams out of the gym when Josh Hart is off for some reason. They are plus 16.5 per 100 when Josh Hart is off. And like
wild.
a lot of and a lot of these lineups are like, there's just no rhyme or reason to it. Like the Cameron Payne, Deuce McBride, Bridges, and Anunoby Towns lineup it has played 102 possessions together, and they're plus 36 in those 100, or plus 37 in those 132, in those 102 possessions, where it's like, there's no reason why that lineup should be better than if Jalen Brunson is the point guard of that lineup. You know what I mean? The Brunson, McBride, Bridges, Anunoby, Jericho Sims lineup in 136 possessions is plus 22. There's no reason why that lineup should be any better with Jericho Sims out there than it is with literally any other center that the Knicks deploy, or anybody who can play center. So I would say part of it is just the Knicks are killing teams when Hart is off the floor, and that kind of stuff is circumstantial. Josh Hart has made way too many winning plays for me to just look at his on-offs and make a decision based on on-offs. And as you look at all the other intricacies of Josh Hart's game, I learned recently, you want to hear a fun fact?
I hate fun, but yeah, sure.
Do you know what the most efficient pick and roll combination in the NBA is this year?
Is Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns?
Yeah. 319 qualifying pick and roll combos. Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns. The Knicks are averaging like 100, over more than 130 points per 100 on when Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns run pick and rolls. And I mentioned that to Hart recently. I was like, I have a trivia question for you. I was like, who's the most efficient pick and roll combination in the league? And he said, JB and Cat. And I said, you're half right. And he said, JB and me? I said, you're half right again. And then he's like thinking, and he says, no, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, what do you mean? There's only one other possible answer. He's like, no, the only other answer is me and Cat. I said, yeah. He says, no, that's not right.
You're kidding me.
He says, we barely run pick and roll. I was like, you do. You run pick and roll a few times a game. They don't run it that much. Brunson and Cat have run 7x as many pick and rolls as Hart and Cat. Brunson and Cat are the third most used pick and roll combination in the NBA.
Do you know offhand who's ahead of them? I wouldn't even wager a guess.
Ant and Gobert.
Okay.
And I forget the other one.
Jokic and Murray? No. No. Anyway.
They're really high in dribble handoffs. But anyway, getting back to it, you look at those small little stats from Hart, the Knicks offensive rebound, or the Knicks offensive efficiency on plays that Hart gets defensive rebounds. Possessions immediately following Hart defensive rebounds, Knicks offensive efficiency is insane. And if you watch the games, you can see why. It's not a surprise. So all these small things with Hart, it's like, I do not doubt that he is helping them win in spite of the on-offs. And the reason that I'm bringing this up in answer to Brunson and Hart is because when you look at it, what's the number? What is the two-man combination that includes Jalen Brunson that's pulling down Jalen Brunson's on-offs?
My guess is Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart.
It's Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. And Brunson has played the most minutes this year alongside Bridges. And the second most minutes he's played alongside somebody is with Josh Hart. And the Knicks are plus 2.7 per 100 in those minutes, which is obviously still a fine enough number. But the Josh Hart stuff is pulling stuff down. And what if that's my follow-up? What if that's my question? What if I'm scrapping things and we're going to be on theme with things, which is like, why is this swing happening with Josh Hart? Because I keep waiting for it to normalize. It's actually become an even larger chasm. And I watch Josh Hart play and I'm like, I know he doesn't get guarded in the 3-point arc. That's not it. That's not why this is happening. What is this thing?
So a couple things just to add to some color to this conversation. the Josh Hart difference, and I've noted this, I think, in a recent newsletter, between when he plays, and we kind of alluded to this already, between when he plays with Towns and without Towns, it's a difference of like 14 or 15 points per 100 possessions. They're plus 9 point something, I think, when it's Hart and Towns together, and I think with Hart without Towns, they're like -4, -5, minus. It's not a pretty number.
Hart without Towns, they're -6.4.
There you go, -6 point. Okay, so that is
that's
you want to talk about a chasm. That's a chasm, and I would think, and yep. You know what,
with Towns, Bob, by the way, plus 8.9.
Oh, 8.9. Okay,
which is great,
which is awesome. And it's like I'm thinking back to last year, and I looked it up, and it's fun. I don't know how any of this relates together, but I'm just going to throw. You asked me a question, so I'm just going to throw words at you, and we'll figure out a way to the end. Last year, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Brunson were really good. They were plus 8 point something. But if you look at the difference between those three with Hartenstein and those three without Hartenstein, night and day. Again, it was a similar difference to Hart with Cat, Hart without Cat. So again, Hartenstein and Karl-Anthony Towns are not like, they're far from identical players. They have similar traits in that their skill set certainly helps open up the offense. And I wonder if the answer to your question isn't as simple as, without a hub of some kind in the middle, Josh Hart and Josh Hart's deficiencies. And I say this as you know, because we talk about this a lot, like there's no bigger Josh Hart fan than me, but he has clear deficiencies. And without that hub with a very particular skill set, his deficiencies stand out a lot more. To me, that's the most reasonable conclusion.
I think there's another part of it too, which is like, so I feel a little bit like a broken record, because I said this on my podcast that I recorded today. I said this on my podcast I recorded earlier this week, and I've probably said it 900 times to people who I know and talk basketball with. But elite teams can be elite and remain elite when they have one wart on either side of the ball.
Yes.
And when you have two for the other team to pick at, that's when things become a little tricky. And when Towns is out there with Hart, that often means that Hart is the worst. If the Knicks are at full strength, that often means that Hart is the worst shooter on the court. Yep. And while Hart is not exactly a dynamic 3-point shooter, and he's not somebody that defenses fear, they'll help off of him, they'll leave him open, all that kind of stuff. He takes them, and he's shooting an acceptable percentage this year. He's in the mid-30s. He's made enough of them. Like, he's not a non-shooter. He's just someone you don't have to guard. He's not Precious Achiuwa or even Isaiah Hartenstein, who had ball skills, but he didn't take threes. He's not Mitchell Robinson. Like, he'll at least take them. He's an above average worst shooter on the court. But when you have two guys, when you have two guys who aren't going to shoot threes because Precious is playing the 5 or Sims is playing the 5 in place of Towns, all of a sudden shit collapses in on itself. And so as you were just talking about Hart with Towns on and Hart with Towns off, I had the thought, I was like, let's see Hart and Brunson with Towns on versus Hart and Brunson with Towns off. You know what Hart and Brunson with Towns off are? And this is 877 possessions. So it's
not nothing.
So it's not a ton, but it's enough for us to look at it and be like, oh, well, that's interesting. It's enough to affect the numbers. What are Hart and Brunson with Towns off?
-3, -4.
-8.7. Woo. -8.7. And when the three of those guys play together, the Knicks are +8 per 100. So they go from like playing like the Washington Wizards to playing like the Boston Celtics with Towns on and off. This is a great first team All-NBA argument for Karl-Anthony Towns, by the way. We are making a hell of a first team All-NBA argument for Karl-Anthony Towns right now.
That's such an, I don't know. I don't want to be like done with this conversation before it warrants it, but that is the most natural segue to my prediction. But let's
don't get to the prediction because I just want to finish this up.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I don't remember what I was going to say. That's it. I have no recollection. I have no idea. I was in a zone. I was in a zone. I felt like Jesus Shuttlesworth. I was just in a zone. And then I lost it.
Oh, man. That's,
I know what I was going to say. I know what I was going to say. Brunson is so pick and roll reliant.
Yes.
He's so pick and roll reliant. As he should be. He's awesome at it. He's like in the tier 1 of best pick and roll players in the NBA. When you have him running pick and roll with Karl-Anthony Towns, your offense is going to be in a really good spot. All that crap we said about Brunson, Towns, pick and roll coming into the year. Are they going to do it a lot? Are they going to be are they going to be good at it? Well, guess what? I just told you the numbers on how they are doing it all the freaking time. And they're obviously awesome at it. And the Knicks offense is amazing. When you're building around that, it has been everything that's been chalked up to be. And I even think it could get better as they build familiarity with each other and that kind of stuff over the years. Those guys have been incredible. When Brunson, let's use Jericho Sims as the example, because he's kind of been the most common guy throughout the year, even though he's not in the team anymore. When Jericho Sims comes in the game, when Jericho Sims comes in the game, Brunson actually still runs as much pick and roll. Like there was a point this year, it's not the case anymore, but there was a point this year when Brunson and Sims were running more pick and rolls per 100 possessions than any other pick and roll combo in the league. And I don't think it's the case anymore, but it was. But Brunson handles those pick and rolls differently, right? He'll come around those pick and rolls differently. He'll try to get to his mid-range spots off of those. He'll try to be able to at least get into like the shallow paint and then be able to kind of make moves with his floater, turn around with his pivots and all that kind of stuff, or maybe be able to pull up on a guy at the nail or something like that on a Jericho Sims pick and roll. Just basically use Sims in order to try to get your defender into a different place where he's not as comfortable, force him to defend from behind, and then Brunson will try to score. Whereas with Towns, he takes a different sort of approach. He's a little bit more of a facilitator. I think the offense is better off for that. And for what it's worth, I'm absolutely not accusing Jalen Brunson of running the offense the wrong way when Jericho Sims is his screener. He is absolutely handling it the right way. I am not qualified to tell Jalen Brunson how to play basketball. I think we can all agree. He is very good at playing basketball and he's very smart and he knows more than I do. So this is not a criticism. This is a observation of how his style changes depending on who he plays with, which is, by the way, how smart players play. You change the way that you play depending on the strengths and weaknesses of the people around you. It's more of just a statement on like Jericho Sims isn't as good of an offensive player as Karl-Anthony Towns is.
How dare you?
And the offense runs differently. And they still run that same sort of stuff, which is also, by the way, not a criticism of Tom Thibodeau, because Jalen Brunson is a great pick and roll point guard, and that offense is awesome, and they play gorgeous offense. But it just, that kind of stuff doesn't work as well when you don't have literally the best pick and roll players you could possibly put together, maybe in the league. And I think that could be part of it as well. We are making. I did not intend to sit here making a Karl-Anthony Towns first team All-NBA argument, even though I think it's possible. It's in the cards, but I think we just made a really good one.
So
guy is something else right now.
Good segue to my prediction that Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be. This is a bit of a.
Can I just say that I'm interrupting you again? Sorry, I'm interrupting you like crazy.
You're Fred Katz. You're almost as famous as like Denzel Washington himself. So you could really, you could interrupt me. It's fine.
I'm like early Denzel though. I'm not like prime Denzel. I'm not like
glory Denzel.
Yeah, I'm like glory Denzel. Yeah, that's the movie. That's the character that I would say reminds me.
I think you really embody.
I love that movie. I love that movie. That's one of the most underrated movies of all time. What's
my most underrated Denzel movie? I'm going to have to actually think about that.
Inside Man is the most underrated Denzel movie.
That's a good choice.
Inside Man is the best. Inside Man is the best bank robber movie ever. That's my first hot take.
I was about to say that's your hot take for the episode.
Inside Man is the best bank robber movie ever made. That's my take. Better. It's better.
Are the casinos in Ocean's 11 still a bank?
It's better, even if it were. It's not, but it's better than Ocean's 11, no question.
Okay.
Ocean's
Den of Thieves, even
better.
Den of Thieves, even. Have you seen that, Fred?
No, I actually haven't.
Okay. Inside Man is great, and it's like top 5.
Inside Man is unquestionably, and I like Ocean's 11 a lot. Inside Man is unquestionably better.
I'll take
Inside Man is a brilliant movie. I'll
take Ocean's 11.
Incredibly done, and the ending is genius.
No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil anything. If you haven't seen Inside Man, see it for yourself. It is a great movie. I think that is like an unbelievable movie.
Before this rabbit trail makes you forget what you were saying again, you were responding to maybe something that was said in the chat.
Oh, right. I was... My raging ADHD is ruining everything.
I'm looking at Denzel movies as you guys are talking, but keep going.
You're good.
Andrew sent to the chat 30 minutes, one question. Now it's been like 32 minutes.
No, we asked 2 questions. Okay, here, prediction. My prediction. My underrated Denzel movie, by the way, is Pelican Brief, and I do think Pelican Brief is underrated at this point.
Oh, that's a great movie.
So
it is a great movie.
Now to counter you interrupting him, he's interrupting you. So
there you go.
Back on track.
But Inside Man is awesome.
Inside Man's awesome. Underrated Jodie Foster performance in that film.
Better than great Jodie Foster performance.
Yeah.
Killer.
Oh, hold on. The Town is better than Inside Man.
No, it's not.
Yes, The Town is also better.
The Town is much better.
No,
I forgot. I was blanking on one. The Town might be my.
Who are you, Joe Mazzulla? Who are you, Joe Mazzulla? The Town is not better than Inside Man.
A broken clock is right twice a day. You know.
The Town. Well, actually, no, not a broken clock. Joe Mazzulla is the single most interesting human being in the NBA. That's my take.
We are
there
now
goes college soccer.
John, there goes college soccer.
The Town is a great movie. The Town is right up there.
Better.
Where are the rails?
I'm throwing The Town in the top 3.
Hey, John.
It's not as good as Inside Man.
Yes,
hey, John. Whose car we taking?
Okay, great. That's a great movie.
Speaking of Town and The Town and Towns, my prediction.
Oh, good transition. You did it.
Quick break to tell you about our friends from Rocket Money. So the start of the new year, perfect time to get organized, set goals, and obviously prioritize what matters most. For me, a father of 2 daughters, and a husband who is responsible for taking care of the family's finances, Rocket Money came in handy at the best possible time. I tell you, I signed up for many subscriptions over the course of my years as a dad, and as my daughters have gotten older, they don't need those subscriptions anymore. For instance, things that pertain to when they were a toddler or were even when they were just born. I had completely forgotten that I had signed up for a number of those. By using Rocket Money, I was able to get a very clear idea of all of the subscriptions that I had, and I was able to see very obviously which ones I didn't need anymore. And now I no longer have them, so I'm saving money thanks to Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/game-on. rocketmoney.com/game-on.
One of one.
Did it, Joe?
The Denzel Washington of
the Town
podcast.
Both the Town and Towns are first team this year.
There you go.
Karl-Anthony Towns is going to become the 6th Knick in history to finish top 4 in MVP voting this year, joining Willis Reed, who won it, Bernard King, who finished 2nd, Carmelo Anthony, who finished 3rd, and Patrick Ewing and Clyde Frazier, each of whom topped out at 4th place. That's my prediction.
It's definitely possible with Giannis missing time now. And
that's why I'm making the prediction. I think Giannis, if he doesn't qualify, which we'll see if he comes back and he plays enough games to qualify after the All-Star break, I'm putting Tatum in 3rd. And I think given that the Spurs are currently under 500, given that Minnesota is kind of going through what they're going through, given that, who am I forgetting? I'm sure I'm forgetting someone obvious. Donovan Mitchell, I will probably be the closest competitor there for that. And Donovan Mitchell's awesome, and the Cavs are obviously awesome. I just think Katz numbers are going to, and advanced numbers. If you look at certain advanced stats, he's all the way up there too. So I think that's, I think he's gonna end up there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I could tell you this. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but whatever. I'll apologize to Bontemps if I messed it up.
Oh, is the second poll is out?
Oh, did it come out already?
Oh, no. I'm saying isn't this around the time when he asks you guys to?
He sent the text this week.
There you go.
He sent the text on Monday asking for the straw poll.
Oh, so you can say what the answers are. It's going to be public, isn't it?
Well, I don't know what his answers are. I just know what I mean.
I'm not asking you to break. ESPN.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that Bontemps is putting out a straw poll soon, but you seem to know that it's going to happen anyway.
It happens every year at the 2/3 of the season mark. It's obviously coming out. Yeah. So
you can already started polling for it. So I can tell you who I sent in for it. Now, to be clear, when I do the Bontemps straw poll, it is not, and I think I'm going to have a real vote this year because I had a vote for All-Star starters, and that's usually exciting. Correlates.
Congratulations. That's cool.
It's both cool and absolutely horrible.
I know.
I've done it 3. This will be my 4th time, and it's horrible. Like it's horrible. It's so stressful, and like me, the amount of stress that I put on myself and the amount of work. The last time I had a vote was the 2020-21 season.
Was that the Kemba? That wasn't the Kemba Supermax. No, that was earlier.
It was, I don't even remember that. But it was,
I'm trying to think if there was a Supermax on the line that year. I don't
there was, and I don't remember who it was though. But I spent so much time putting together my ballots that I literally, leading up to it, ended up watching 30 minutes of defensive film on Jackson Hayes because I wanted to leave him off of second team all rookie, but because I felt like he gambled too much on defense and that the blocks just weren't worthy. But I was like, I can't leave Jackson Hayes off second team all rookie without, I got to confirm this. So I literally spent like 35 minutes watching Jackson Hayes film.
You know what that is?
That wasn't the only thing I did.
You know what that is? It's not Sim to end autopilot voting. I'll tell you that much.
It is not Jericho Sims to end. So I sent in my poll. I also only send in my polls. You'll be unsurprised to know that most people, when they send their polls to Bontemps, they send them like normal people text. And they're just like, whoever, right? I send them to Bontemps as if they're very official. And I put fun facts about the players also.
Of course.
And so like, I have like Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, 29 years old, birthplace, Sombor, Serbia, notable statistics. And then I have favorite hobby, taking care of his horses. I put Jokic at 1. And I feel like the internet is going to destroy me if I vote for Jokic at 1.
What? Why?
Because I feel like Shea's going to win, and it's lame to put Jokic at 1. It is. I agree. It's so lame. But he has broken the sport.
Isn't he having still like the like by some metrics, like the most effect, like offensively, or no, just like period, like
he's having the most amazing season. He's having his best season ever.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is he actually doesn't lead the league in threes now. You know who
in 3-point percentage? Who does?
Yeah, in 3-point percentage. I forget. It might be Sabonis still.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Not an All-Star, which I'm not aggrieved about, but like you want to talk about things that will make you look ridiculous. I put Sabonis, not that I have a vote of anything, but I put Sabonis down as one of my West starters. Didn't even make the All-Star team.
Sabonis has been amazing.
He has been amazing. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he was snubbed because all of these guys are very good and deserving, but I just thought he was.
Yeah. So Mike Breen will love this statistic because every single time a player puts up a shot before the buzzer, he'll be like, oh, he actually put up the three. So Jokic actually will shoot end of quarter heaves every single time that he can. And if you remove heaves from Jokic's 3-point totals, he leads the league in percentage.
That's wild.
Yeah. So he actually leads the league in 3-point percentage on top of everything, on top of the fact that he's averaging a 30-point triple-double, and the on-offs are literally better than they've ever been. And he is carrying the worst team he's played on in years to, maybe we'll end up second in the West. He's ridiculous, but I get the argument for Shea. Shea is absolutely insanity.
Shea is awesome, and yes, that's all true. But I don't.
And his favorite hobby, according to this, is playing video games with Lou Dort. And Giannis's favorite hobby loves interviews with Eric Names.
Is that a fact?
And Jason Tatum's favorite hobby is getting babysat by Bradley Beal. One of my favorite NBA fun facts is the babysitting train from St. Louis, where Jason Tatum's childhood babysitter was Bradley Beal. Real story. And Bradley Beal's childhood babysitter was Nelly.
Really?
Yeah.
St. Louis? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
What an incredible chain of babysitters.
I love Nelly. Nelly's underrated. Anyway, okay. So
Fourth, I had Tatum. I put Donovan Mitchell fifth.
Hold on. So you have Jokic, SGA, Giannis as of right now. Yes?
I went Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Tatum, and I put Donovan Mitchell fifth.
You put Donovan Mitchell. Would you have Kat sixth?
I think I would have Kat and Brunson 6 and 7.
Okay.
If 6 and 7 existed. I strongly considered Kat. I strongly considered Brunson. If this were my real ballot, I obviously would have put way more time thinking about it. I did enjoy my fun fact for Donovan Mitchell, which kind of put me over the top for putting him, because my fun fact for Donovan Mitchell was bragging about how Rudy Gobert's favorite team would never in a million years sign Juan Soto. So I enjoyed that one. But the Cavs have been so great. Mitchell's been so great. Even though the Cavs are more of an ensemble success story, I was like, you know what, for the Bontemps poll, I'll throw him in. I think Kat has a great argument. I think Brunson has a real argument.
I think Kat has a great argument, and obviously this delves into more serious conversations, but neither Jokic nor SGA nor Tatum nor Giannis nor Mitchell has any aspect of their game that a reasonable NBA observer would look at and say, that is the thing that is going to prevent this team from winning in the playoffs, whereas Kat does. So if there is an argument for putting Kat sixth or not, whatever, just and not in the top five, I think that's probably it.
But Jonathan,
yeah,
it is not a playoff award, my dear. It is a regular season award. And I get it. Obviously, there are voters who vote that way because that's how Joel Embiid won MVP in one time. And Embiid's never made it past the second round, and Jokic won the finals that year. So that did not age very well.
No.
I will say Kat did play on a team that went to the conference finals last year.
He did. And let's hold that thought, because we're going to get back to that idea of how that happened and whether that has any bearing on what the Knicks are going to do the first this year. Do you have a prediction?
My prediction is the Knicks end up matching up with the Celtics in the second round, and it actually ends up being a very competitive series that they lose, but Knicks fans end up feeling really good about the team moving forward, and they go into next year with similar sort of style betting that this with kind of more reinforcements around what they already have can win a title.
So I switched up my stuff and I went with a different hot take, but my original hot take was going to be, and I don't know if it's that hot, was that they would face the Celtics and they would either beat the Celtics, or if more likely, if they lost to the Celtics, we would not be looking at it as the defense is the reason why they lost to the Celtics. I think they will, if they get to that matchup, which at this point I hope they do. And I'm not fast forwarding to them to that matchup because I think there are some feisty teams in the bottom of the East. I think they will. I think they'll maybe it'll happen over the course of the series, but I think they'll figure out some stuff how to be at least not awful, not like we've seen them be against Boston defensively. And I think it'll be like you said, I think it'll be a tight series.
Yeah, I do too, and I do. I don't see a realistic. I shouldn't say realistic. I don't see any sort of likely way they end up getting Cleveland in the second round. I think Cleveland's awesome. I don't. Cleveland totally collapses in on itself. Boston.
I was about to say, like the Knicks would, if the Knicks go 500 the rest of the way, the Pacers would need to go like, I think I figured this out, like 22-8 or something like that, or 20.
Which they could. That's about the run they're on right now.
The Pacers?
Yeah, they've been really hot.
They have. I also don't think the Knicks are going to go 500, but
no, the Knicks are definitely not going to go 500.
Yeah.
No, I mean, unless something catastrophic happens with them, if they reasonably keep their crew together, the Knicks are really good. I had
20-8. Thank you, Andrew.
So yeah, I had this whole rant on my podcast today. Like,
I didn't catch the pod yesterday. It's not out yet, right?
It might not be out. I don't know. Ask your producer. He handles it. I don't do anything.
He's on auto. He's on what is it?
It's out. It's out. Andrew says it's out, so it's out.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But like somebody asked the question if Tibbs will still be the coach when the Knicks are contenders. I was like, guys, he's the coach today, and thus he's the coach when they're contenders. Like you guys have Knicks fans are so funny because
hold on, you guys.
Sorry, John, you're a Knicks fan. You're in the crew. Knicks fans are so funny because
I'm not funny, but go on.
You guys, and you will agree with me on this. You'll allow me to you guys on this. You guys have been tortured for so many years with so many teams that just weren't good. And you know what you're watching. Knicks fans are really smart. They appreciate good basketball. They know good basketball when they see it, and they get pumped up when they see it. And it's really funny that like for years it was just get to a good team. Just get to a good team. Like, can't even imagine what it would be like to root for a contender. If you're a Knicks fan, you're rooting for a contender. The Knicks aren't my pick to win the title. They're not my pick to beat Boston. They're not my pick to beat Cleveland. They're not my pick to beat Oklahoma City. But guess what? They're like right there after that.
Can I ask you a bonus question?
Yeah.
I know. I'll give you my answer. How much championship equity on a 100% scale? How much championship equity do the Knicks have right now? I'll tell you what my number is.
So like everyone gets
it's 100% pie. So you can give Oklahoma City 55% of the pie if you want, like that.
Right. I mean, no one gets 55% of the pie.
No one. I don't think anyone gets more than. I wouldn't give anyone more than like 35% of the pie. And I think, what?
I'll give Oklahoma City third. I'll give Oklahoma City like 25, and I'll give Boston 22.
Really? That low?
I guess. Isn't that stuff? Don't you really have to be conservative on that?
I had it. My rough numbers, I haven't actually sat there and done the math. My rough numbers are like very low 30s for OKC, very low 30s for Boston, maybe like 33, 34 for Boston. Cleveland, like 12. And I think I'm around like 8 for the Knicks, which is maybe a little high. I don't know.
That sounds about right. Maybe I'll go 25, and I'll go like 15 on Cleveland.
Oh, so you're a little higher on Cleveland. Okay.
And I'll go like 10 on Denver, because it's getting to the finals is the most important part of winning the finals. And the Knicks have to beat 2 really good teams. Denver's got to beat 1 really good team.
Oh, you're saying the Knicks have to beat 2 teams to get to the. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. The Knicks are going to have to beat Boston and Cleveland.
You know what? That's a great point. That's a great point.
And that's a lot tougher than having to beat just Oklahoma City.
That's a really good point. That's a very good point.
And there are a lot of teams in the West that don't match up great with Denver. So I would give Denver a little bit of a better chance than the Knicks, even though I think the Knicks are a better team. Just because
very fair.
They got those top two in the East that are going to make the road tougher. And if they slip up against one of them, it doesn't matter if they match up better. They match up with Oklahoma City or not, because they're not going to get the chance. I put the Knicks after. Yeah, they 5 to 8, 5%. Yeah. But 5% is like, I'm giving low odds for everybody. I think this is a generally unpredictable postseason. Like, I think Oklahoma City is amazing. And if Oklahoma City had won the title last year, I would probably give them higher than 25%. But because they're literally the youngest roster in the league, which is not something that I expect is going to be a problem, given I've been around that team a little bit this year. I feel like I understand how they operate. I understand a lot of their personalities. Like, I can absolutely guarantee you that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not going to have a moment that's too big for him. There is a 0% chance. Maybe he'll miss a shot in a moment where they need him to make a shot. But there is no way that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to feel the pressure in the postseason. There's just no chance. And I don't believe that's going to be true for Jalen Williams. And I think they have a really, really smart, really emotionally mature group of players who play with like no ego whatsoever. And I think they have an extremely brilliant coach. And I don't expect that to affect them in the postseason, their age and their lack of experience. But I mean, I would be a little bit of a fool not to at least consider it a possibility, because never seen a team this young win a title. We've just never seen it. They might be the extraordinary example to break the trend. Really possible, but I don't know. So I think everybody's odds are pretty low. And because everyone's odds are pretty low, it's like you only need a couple things to go your way, or a couple things to go against somebody else's way. And maybe you get there.
The first Bulls team, the ages were higher, but that's only because guys stayed in college longer. If you look at the years of NBA experience, I feel like it's not that dissimilar from.
Yeah, but age matters.
No, age matters. Age matters.
It matters. Like, they still had actual experience playing high level, important, high pressure basketball games. Like, Michael Jordan still played in major NCAA tournament games and was able to learn from mistakes. Scottie Pippen just had enough high pressure basketball under his belt to where he could at least learn from mistakes. They also had playoff experience under their belt too. Like,
they had lost more than OKC.
They had lost to the Pistons a couple of times.
It's a good call.
Also, kind of says something that the comp that we're using to maybe justify Oklahoma City is literally the greatest dynasty we've ever seen in like American sports. Well, with the most unbeatable, inevitable winner that we've seen in our entire lifetimes in American sports. Like, that's what we're using as the comp. Holy crap.
But I also know, because we've talked about OKC offline enough, and I'm sure you've talked about them obviously without me, but like, boy, oh boy, is it set up. But we could talk about that another time. It's actually very frightening. Okay, we're running out of time. We have to do 2 hot takes. Do you want to do your hot take first? Do you want me to go?
You go.
My hot take is that Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns will average per game in the playoffs, assuming Mitchell Robinson stays healthy until then, will average double-digit minutes per game together in the playoffs.
I love this.
Do you?
You know why?
Why?
Because my prediction,
it's going to be the other way.
Take is that Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns don't play meaningful minutes together in the playoffs.
Okay, there you go.
That's my hot take.
That's fantastic.
And then Mitchell Robinson, assuming he's healthy, just gets the backup center minutes. And it's similar to what
how many
we were
is
talking
that
about in the playoffs. For Tibbs' team?
I'm asking you in the playoffs. Yes, I'm asking you in the playoffs.
I mean, Towns, if he's not in foul trouble in a tight playoff game, is probably going to play 40 minutes, 38.
Yeah.
38 to 40.
So 10.
So it's 8 to 10 minutes
8 to
for
10.
Mitch. I just think, if they play, when I say in the playoffs, I don't mean against.
No,
I know we had a whole bit about playing the Pistons and stuff. We had a whole bit making fun of the Pistons for years and years and years. I don't make fun of the Pistons anymore. Pistons don't deserve to be made fun of. I didn't make fun of the Pistons for the sake of making fun of the Pistons. I made fun of the Pistons because they deserve to be made fun of, because what they were doing was they did some wild crap and made some wild decisions. And you know what? They don't do it anymore, and they are well coached, and they play hard, and they're fun to watch, and they're talented. And I like the Pistons. I like watching them, but I don't really mean against the Pistons. I'm more thinking in Cleveland, Boston, anybody else. First round, they get a really weak opponent. It's possible that in the first round, they could play somebody who won like 39 games. You could play whatever way it's possible they play somebody who's just like, they could play whatever style they want and they'll still walk all over this team. They don't need to bust out any of the creative stuff.
I love hearing the confidence from you. Okay.
I mean, look at the bottom of the East, man.
I have a lot. I mean, you just did a whole thing on Detroit. I have a goodly amount of respect for Cade Cunningham specifically, but like the couple of things that team does really well. And it may only be a couple of things, but they do them really well. So, yeah.
Cade Cunningham is awesome. And Detroit could win that series if Isaiah Stewart just beats up everybody on the Knicks, like literally just beats everybody up and everybody's on the injury report and they're out. And Isaiah Stewart gets suspended, but it doesn't matter because everyone on the Knicks is out
to play.
And you're fine.
A Royal Rumble, yeah.
But the talent discrepancy there is massive.
Yes.
Like, it's the talent discrepancy there is ginormous. And you want to talk about there being, the Knicks have a couple of warts. Like, we're talking about that compared to contenders. Like the Pistons, we don't look at those sorts of things because the expectations and the goals are different than they are for the Knicks. The expectations and goals for the Pistons are be the best version that you can of yourselves with this team. But like, the Pistons, you could still take advantage of Malik Beasley on the perimeter. You could still take advantage of Cade on the perimeter, even though I actually think his defense has gotten better this year. When Jalen Duren's out there, you can still put him on the back end of pick and rolls. Cat's a better pick and roll defender than Jalen Duren is. That's better.
Actually true.
Cat is no worse of a rim protector than Jalen Duren is. Jalen Duren might make you think that he is a dude who can guard really well because he can jump out of the gym and he's got the body and all that kind of stuff. But he's not a defender at all. Isaiah Stewart is the guy who's the defender. But when Duren's on the floor, I mean, you put Duren and Cat Brunson pick and rolls, it could just be like, oh my goodness. I know they've struggled against the Pistons in the regular season. Pistons play really hard. They're well coached. They're good. We've seen Tom Thibodeau go up against JB Bickerstaff in a playoff series before. It went very well for Tom Thibodeau. My point is, it wasn't a hit on the Pistons. It was more just like,
no, I know. So wait,
whoever they play in that spot is not going to be good. But here's my thought.
Yeah, because my thought, just to be clear, I don't have any great logic for my prediction other than that it's the one major thing, other than I guess switching Cat onto smaller players. It's the one major defensive adjustment that they have not made yet. So I'm like, well, it hasn't been great so far. So I figure they'll go to the adjustment. I don't have any more thought out reasoning other than that. I want to know what your reasoning is.
My reasoning is that if you play Mitchell Robinson with Cat, the guy who you are almost certainly taking off the floor is going to be Josh Hart.
Yes.
And I think Tibbs is going to choose Josh Hart over Mitchell Robinson.
So I find this.
We just went through the whole, delved into how important it is to have four guys who are legit 3-point threats around Josh Hart.
So the tricky thing about this is if the assumption is that Mitchell Robinson is going to play the non-Towns minutes, which we are saying are going to be 8 to 10 minutes a game. And given the data, and like we didn't say it explicitly before, but like whether he sleeps with it under his pillow at night or he burns it in his fireplace, we know all of the numbers that we have talked about on this episode. Tom Thibodeau knows all of these numbers. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah. He's like extremely he knows the updated version of every single part of every single lineup data. Like he knows. So, you can ask him, you could literally walk up to him and just off the top of his head, what is this combination? And he'll know it to a T, the most updated number every time.
So given that he knows what everybody else seems to think that he has no idea about, and given that the challenges that would come with playing Mitch with another with Josh Hart together, then essentially what you're talking about is, okay, if essentially what you're talking about is if Mitch is on the floor, Josh Hart can't be on the floor, regardless of whether Karl-Anthony Towns is out there or not. So if Mitch is going to get, if my prediction comes true and Mitch gets 10 minutes a game with Kat and then gets, let's lowball it and say 8 minutes a game when Kat's on the floor, that's 18 minutes that Josh Hart isn't on the floor, which means Josh Hart is relegated to a 30-minute a game player in the playoffs. And I would agree with you that is unlikely. Is it possible that he becomes a 35-minute a game player in the playoffs? I think that's within the realm of possibility, which is we could talk about where those extra 5 minutes would come from. Unless there's just an off the reservation, possibility where, hey, it's a series against Boston and KP's off the floor and we're going to go with OG Anunoby, at the quote unquote 5 with Hart as the only non-spacer and neither KP neither Kat or Mitch, but then it lessens Mitch's minutes and my argument loses anyway. So either way, I can't win if we go with what we've talked about today. So your argument stands up to logic.
That's why it's a hot take.
That's why my take is a hot take. So that means your take is not a hot take.
I think they're both hot takes.
You think they're both hot takes?
I think they're hot. Yeah, we went on the farthest end of the spectrum that we could.
That's true.
That makes it a hot take. They're just hot opposing takes. That's what first take is. First take, they disagree all the time, but they're both hot takes.
I'm pretty sure they're not talking about lineup data on first take and delving into.
Well, then you are not watching the first take that I am.
You know what? You're right. I'm not watching any first take that you watch or you don't watch.
Man, it is a privilege to hear Mad Dog talk about VORP.
Does he actually talk about it?
No. Who talks about VORP? Does anyone talk about VORP?
I have no idea. I've never watched first take.
No one talks about VORP.
Okay. Well, this is good to know.
I don't even talk about VORP.
All right. I have to go because I have to talk to DJ Zulo, who always teaches me a lot about basketball. But you know what, Fred? You teach me about life and about our great stars, Denzel Washington included, and our great executives, such as William Worldwide Wes, who nobody calls William or Wesley.
I have one question before we go.
Sure, Andrew.
Do you think people are going to be confused by the hundreds of Denzel Washington, William Wesley comments because they have no idea that before the pod you mistook Denzel Washington for William Wesley?
I don't know. Really, I have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever.
Like at a certain point, you reference it once, it could just blow by. But we're now at the very end, and this is the 17th callback that I think context was necessary.
Well, you know what? You did not seem to end on this episode.
I did not.
I hope everybody had to be. I hope no one turns off this podcast early.
Do people listen to the end?
Yes, they do. It's something called Time Spent Listening, TSL.
What is that?
Don't worry about it. People listen.
Okay. I really do have to go because I asked DJ to record with me early. Fred, you are the most amazing person ever. Yeah, you're amazing. Where can people find you and your wonderful amazingness?
You can find my writing on The Athletic. You can listen to Katz and Shoot. Patreon.com/Katz and Shoot. You can watch Inside Man. Don't mistake it for the adult film Inside Man. That's a very different thing. And you can follow me on Twitter at Fred Katz.
If we're doing no, I'm not going to. No, one embarrassing callback is enough for one episode. Okay. Thank you, Fred. You're the best. Andrew, that's a look on his face.
Normally, I can pivot to like other things. There's just nothing to do with that. Thank you.
No, there really isn't.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. If you enjoy this really special brand of basketball analysis and entertainment, be sure to give us a 5-star rating on wherever you get your podcasts and leave a nice review and go subscribe to Katz and Shoot because Katz and Shoots is awesome. And go subscribe to The Athletic because Fred Katz is awesome and everybody at The Athletic is doing great work over there. And we will be back with more fun and games before you know it. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.
This pod was much like my most underrated Denzel movie, Flight.